what these all these represent is, of course, always I'm painting the human condition, and the human psyche, and maybe they're the same, maybe they're not. Today, we're going to look at Mayan influences in my art, but also the continuing influence of psychology and the human spirit. So I'm mixing the forms in Mayan art. For example, the Mayan nose that is part of the Mayan body sculpture, and what I'm looking at today will be also the effect of colors, the color psychology combined with the Mayan forms. When in the early 70s I was very actively pursuing the Mayan temples, and I was up and down the southern Mexico and Guatemala and into Copan so we were just looking at that and saying what we're going to be looking at is very heavily influenced by the Mayans, and to understand that I'm integrating three things. I'm integrating the Mayans, the psychology of the human spirit, and the colors that may create a different mood for each spirit. It's a movement, a spirit, and a psychology with the Mayan forms. Let's look and see here what I'm doing here. And when we're talking about what is Mayan, is this particular nose that almost looks like it comes out of the forehead. But in Mayan sculptures, obviously based on the Mayan people, but the form is exaggerated in Mayan sculptures, and that's an important part of the composition of the sculpture and describing the people. In the psychological part, all these will have the different uses of the other parts of psychology, like, for example, in schizophrenics, where they have the voices coming in on them, or in some cases, it's just there are many people making up one person. That's important. Let's look at the color under here, and we can see what and the color and the texture, and we can get what we were talking about.
Now, what medium is that then?
Watercolor.
What, is all watercolor?
This is all watercolor, and it's different textures in watercolor, and I'm playing on the different textures. So to understand that is to understand that each texture and each color is unto itself, but part of the whole picture.
Very nice.
This again, I use the Mayan nose, and it's two indigenous people talking to each other, and kind of a female European in the middle there.
That's a really cool piece. It almost also looks like from a distance like it could be one head.
Yeah, it is in a sense one head with two voices, and then up here is possible the interaction of possible other voices in the head.
That's amazing. And again, this is being influenced by
Mayan and psychology and color and texture. That is what I'm playing with, is the color and texture in watercolor to get that effect not only does it look wet, it has a texture all its own, separate from just being wet on wet in watercolor, traditional watercolor.
Is that done with like a buildup of layers?
Built up of layers, and these are many layers down here making up this brownish red. And if you get it up there, you can kind of see the layers.
Yeah, it's very intricate work down there. A lot more than you would think.
Yeah. So people don't realize how long it took to get this part of the nose, the blue, but how to get that happening in there. and how many layers, and then taking it out, because this is also a subtractive process.
When you say subtractive, are you also wiping away?
Yeah, I'm blotting.
Okay, what do you use to blot again? Using
My toilet paper and or sometimes my paper towels. What we're talking about also is the interaction and and sometimes the confusion. And in this case, it's not as Mayan as it is just the confusion of the mind. And the spots come from the paper towels.
I can see that. Yeah, you see that texture, and then when you really look at it up close. Wow.
Yeah, and it's important that I have this variety down here, for example, which took 4 layers to get that. So they kind of floating almost like some kind of amoebas or something in the.
Yeah, it's really abstract, but beautiful nonetheless. What kind of paper is that on?
This is that heavy smooth. That's the smooth cold press.
Yes, it's a very smooth paper, but when you look at the texture by the art, that you created with the artwork, it makes it very textured.
Yes, and then when I'm playing some not so textured, it would be some areas like the yellow here and the yellow around up there. But what we're really also talking about is auras. The auras around the object and the person and the conversations. In this case, the confusion, conversations in the head.
Those look like they're 8.5 by 11 or something.
These are 9 by 12. These are 9 by 12s.
This one that I've been looking at here. So that one.
Okay, so this one is more solid, more less disruptive, but the voice is in the back of the head, as you could see in the upper part of where the brain would be.
I do see that.
And now we're talking about, in the case of the soft blue, to get that soft blue softer at the bottom and less on the top is in the process of the blotting with the toilet paper. And then coming back in and drawing with a wet brush in a more traditional watercolor way, but being descriptive of the colors, but also of the thought that this is inside the brain.
And that's so amazing that these are all inspired, right, by the Mayan
right.
artwork.
Okay, this one is a little more complicated, but I want it to be part of it because it's just.
Yeah, let's go ahead and go to this one too.
Yeah.
That one is just all color. Wow.
Yeah, this is really the color doing its job, and kind of a spooky character down below, and then the people inside the mind, and then the big profile up at the top, shouting out to what? To nowhere. Shouting out to nowhere. And as soon as nowhere answers, then you're in trouble.
That's funny because we were just talking about that. Like I was saying, we make our art and we never know who's seeing it.
Yeah.
And you put it out there, and for all you know, it's just going nowhere. But then when people respond, then you do know people have been watching and seeing it.
So you could see this, the softer green coming over the yellow, describing.
And I see a lot of faces in there.
Yeah. And off to the side to the left.
Correct. Wow.
Okay, so we have one more. And this again is very different. This is more graphic, more bold, and very sculptural and graphic. Graphic being the simplicity of the line, the boldness of the colors.
It does have a really graphic feel to that one.
Yeah.
Because of the strong use of lines.
Yeah, that's what it is. And it's the darker lines that bring out the graphic, and then periodically those bright yellows coming through, which is not they're not softened like the air around the piece. The air around the piece is very important in this one because the graphic is sending it forward, but the soft blue is sending it back. So we were getting two different things happening, and then in the middle of the two things we have the blue.
Yeah, it's really.
And it's a combination of cobalt blue and ultramarine blue, about half and half.
And that yellow right here, I'm going to zoom in.
Yeah.
It shows up on the screen, but it really is glowing.
And that's important that it glows as part of the graphic.
Your eyes is drawn there. It sounds like you're drawn to his eye and his thoughts.
Yeah. And there you see this, but that's that. But this is the eye. But what is that there? We don't know.
Awesome. So let's see if you were to kind of summarize.
What all these represent is, of course, always I'm painting the human condition. The human condition and the human psyche, and maybe they're the same, maybe they're not. All the years of studying psychology and being in therapies and my numerous courses and the numerous jobs that I had in psychology, somehow or another, just making the piece sculptural or just making it not have any expressive feeling to it, this doesn't feel right for me. I have to have that element of the human spirit. The spirit is everything for me in the artwork. It has to have a spirit, it has to have a soul. It has to be the spirit of the soul. And that's a very different way of seeing it.